me about what's your group about?
Okay, my name is Malik, and I represent the Uhuru movement. We were raided by the government. Our chairman, Omali Yeshitela, was raided by the FBI, the government, because we had the audacity to have to believe that the government freedom of speech was our right as human beings. They attacked our chairman with flashbang grenades, with assault weapons on July 29th of last year. They understand that we are about the decolonization of African people in this country, and they arrested and went into our offices, our headquarters in St. Louis, our buildings in St. Petersburg. They attacked our solidarity movement, made up of North American, white comrades who are part of our solidarity movement. They actually stole our computers, all our records, the history of our movement, and trying to destroy this movement. But we refuse to accept that. They indicted our chairman. We are going to put the government on trial for its horrendous and barbaric treatment of African people for the last 400 years. We will not accept the verdict that the government has advanced for the African Peoples Socialist Party and the Uhuru movement. We say down with imperialism, down with colonialism. The U.S. government out of Africa, Africa right now. We're in solidarity with Burkina Faso. We're in solidarity with the people of Nigeria. We're in solidarity with the people of Mali. We say France out of Africa. France out of Africa, France out of Africa. Right. Uhuru, free the Uhuru 3, drop the charges against the Uhuru 3, Uhuru.
I have a question.
Yes.
Now, when you said about your movement and decolonialization in America, can you explain that for the audience, what your movement is about,
yes,
what your purpose is here in the United States?
Yes. Our movement is the exact same movement that the Vietnamese had, that the Angolans had, the Mozambicans, the Cubans, and every other oppressed and dominated and colonized people of the world. We want absolute, total freedom over our economic and political lives, and we are about the process of getting that by any means necessary. We want freedom, and we want it now.
Now, how do you feel U.S. policy currently is still colonizing the Africans in the United States?
Yeah, well, all our economic life is controlled by the United States government, and the ruling class, right? All of our political life is controlled by the United States government and, the ruling class. We want our own political power. We want our own economic power. We want the control of economic and political power in our communities. We want control of the people that walk around our communities with guns. We want control of our economic life and political life. And we want to get that by any means necessary.
And so what is it that you propose? Like, what are some of your proposals within your communities?
Well, one of the things, I happen to be a member of the Black is Back Coalition for Social Justice, Peace, and Reparations, one of the organizations founded by Omali Yeshitela, who is the leader of the Uhuru movement and the founder of the International Democratic Movement, the African Peoples Socialist Party. He's one of the foremost revolutionary leaders of our time, and certainly one of the foremost theoreticians and strategists. And everything within the United States and within Western Europe, for the most part, and capitalism was built off of the bloodshed and exploitation of African people and other non-white people. It is inseparable from that. Everything in this country is built from that, and all that we look at today still shows the signs of that. If you look at what is going on with anybody black, and I like to use the word African because we're African no matter where we are, we have the worst of every statistic by design. And we are saying no more of that. We have the right for self-determination to govern ourselves. And Omali Yeshitela, what was so threatening about him was he was doing the damn thing, as they say. He was doing it. He was building up political institutions within the community through the Black Power movement. And they came after him like they've done to King, Malcolm, Marcus Garvey, everyone who has ever stood up against this U.S. government and spoke truth to power. They've come after them, especially everybody within the Black liberation struggle. What they did to King, and then they come after us, they ride, or they exploit us, and then they're going to turn around and basically what I call pimp our movement, and then going and sit up there and put these faces up there like Malcolm and King. You know, they'll put them on a stamp and all of that to justify the blood that they are still built upon. If we look at what's going on throughout the world, Africa, but not just Africa, what's going on here, what's going on what they call South America, Latin America, what's going on in the global South, and you continue to have the exploitation of these people around the world by colonialist powers. Another word that is this white power structure which seeks to dominate and to control the world. And we're saying, hell no, that is not going to happen. We're stopping that now. And that's one of the reasons why they're coming after him. And he is facing 10 to 15 years in prison for being one of the first people to speak out and condemn what is going on with Ukraine and how the United States is using Ukraine as a proxy war with NATO. He was one of the first people that I remember speaking up about it. And he also spoke the truth about the history of Russia. Russia never invaded Africa. Russia never enslaved any of us. That did not happen. And so they didn't like him saying those things. And plus he's organizing, and he was one of the first people, no, not one of the first, I think the first people to run a campaign on reparations for African people, for the Black community out of St. Petersburg, Florida. And that made international news. And then now we see after that Marianne Williamson began to talk about reparations. But they had done that before. Marianne Williamson did that in 2016, or no, 2020. But they had done that, I think, around 2016 or something like that. So that's the impact that they have. And so they're also saying now that they're interfering with the election.
Wow.
Yeah, because they're running candidates. They're challenging. With the Black is Back Coalition, we had developed a 19-point platform for Black self-determination, and we say if candidates don't support this platform, don't support them. Democrat or Republican, I don't care who they are, don't support them. And we also talk about how to get them out of office. We don't just talk about just vote, we talk about empowerment and how to use voting as just another way to advance our power, to build up our power, but we don't have to capitulate to anybody.
Do you have a YouTube channel?
Burning Spear TV.
Yes.
Okay, we'll be sharing that on this channel because you've come on now on an interview. We share the channel. Do you have any books that you'd like to reference that?
Reparations Now. Reparations Now is
Okay, because I have we have an Amazon store, and when we have a guest, we usually add their book to our store.
we have the latest chairman's book, The Verdict is In, Reparations Now.
One of the things, the indictment that was written against them, it's almost, you would almost be thinking that you're reading something out of like a comic book, a comic strip, because it was written in such a demeaning and such a derogatory way. And it's basically saying that Russia controls everything that they're saying, and it's called sowing discord. Omali Yeshitela has been speaking out against police brutality, saying that, we charge the United States with genocide. He's been saying that, been building movements up around that. The African people have been saying that, and yet this indictment's going to say that basically that he's controlled and a mouthpiece for Russia, and that he's speaking out against these issues, which is sowing discord in the United States. So in other words, so if you talk about the genocide that the United States has been engaging and was founded on, and this is coming from the Democratic Party, I call them Democrats, but under Biden, and he's saying you're sowing discord. In other words, that's how it's supposed to be. And if you rise up against that, you are sowing discord with the American agenda in this country.
Now, in a final question, the African Union is up and coming. Africa now is not the Africa of 20 years ago. It's becoming, and it's on the road to becoming a real power. and you see many of the nations courting Africa. I just did a piece called Africa's Revenge because the Africans are not forgetting their history. What's your opinion on nations like the United States or the European Union, which have histories of within the slave trade, the African slave trade, and promoting that? What's your opinion now that these nations want the vital resources, the rich resources now that is so important in Africa because it's part of this modern, the greening of the economy? And what's your opinion of those nations courting Africa versus and Africa now having its revenge because it's now in a very different place in the world?
My opinion is colonizers get the leap out of Africa, get out, we will do one thing without you, and that's thrive. African people have been thriving long before European came to the continent. I mean, we had been thriving, we had been living, we had been developing nations and all of that. We will do the same. We are doing the same. We do not need colonizers. We do not need Europe. We do not need the United States to live and to survive. We do not need them. But the truth of the matter is, it's Europe that needed Africa. It's Europe that always needed Africa. And it's Africa that undergirds Europe. They're the ones who benefit from this relationship. Africa's received nothing but trauma. And that's the relationship that European countries, for the most part, colonizers have with the rest of the world who are non-white people. But it's them who need it. The history of the world ain't about African people and the indigenous people of the Americas wanting to go to Europe and, just wanting and begging them for things. That ain't the history of the world. The history of the world is the other way. It was the Europeans that came from Europe and went in and invaded all these other countries and then created these artificial borders and then have the audacity to talk about immigration. We wouldn't have this problem with immigration if the Europeans had never come here. Just go.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the